Recording in progress.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to planning of the 19th of February 2024. First item on the agenda is public participation. We haven't got any public participation at the moment, or unless you want, did you want to take it on after the relevant piece, Mr. Gibson?
Whatever your preference is.
Yeah, let's do that. Mr. Gibbs is going to talk about the district plan review as an element after that, which I thought would be handy to have after we've read the chairman's announcements for that. We don't have any other questions from the public at the moment, so that's good. So thank you very much. Moving on then to item number 1 on the agenda is to apologies for absence. We have two Councillor Mrs. Mockford and Councillor Peacock have asked for personal reasons can't attend. Councillor Scott is running late, but he will be there in a moment. Can I just ask people to agree to that, please?
Agreed.
Item number 2 is to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of January, which were expertly chaired by Councillor Pond, I might add, having reviewed the YouTube video. Well done, mate. Awesome. Give me the sign.
Sure.
Yes, please, yeah.
Is it just a...
If everyone's approved them.
Yes, agreed.
Agreed. Shall I second
Can I,
that first?
I approve those.
I will second those fantastic minutes.
Second those.
Approved.
Do I initial that? And then sign?
Approval?
We
Sort
all
of.
approve.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of the game.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Okay.
Item number 3 is to receive members' declarations of interest. Anybody got any?
Edmund?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I am a member of Mid-Sussex District Council District Planning Committee, so if this application or any applications come before that committee in the future, I reserve my right to review any further information that may be presented.
Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 4 is Chairman's announcements. Couple on the list here, we've got, there's a very quick note on the district decision for DM 233073, which is 18 High Street, which was the moving into 2 offices. Following the committee, this was refused on the 9th of February, just so to keep everybody up to date. Along with that, we've also had the draft Mid-Sussex District Plan for 2021 to 2039. We need to be, I'm going to ask the committee to approve or amend the draft, and the closing date is the 23rd of February, so we've got a few days to go, so please let Sarah, Dr. Clark, have those notes. At the moment, this is the response that we've got, is the District Plan Review 2024 Regulation 19 consultation. Eastminster Town Council are grateful to have the opportunity to reply to the District Council consultation. The planning documents are of vital importance to the development in this district of the right development in the right space and providing the right infrastructure to allow the new developments to integrate well into the community that it is adding to. The Town Council notes that this plan is in accordance with the government requirements to review the existing plan and to protect the 5-year land supply to ensure that the district is able to ward off speculative development, which could destroy the nature of the Mid-Sussex area with unsuitable and unsupported development. Note and acknowledge the changes to the plan between Regulation 18 and 19 consultation. We are dismayed that not all suggestions for clarity have been incorporated. We further acknowledge that the purpose of the Regulation 19 consultation is to test the soundness and legality of the plan, We have no specific comment as to the soundness of the plan, but would reiterate the following strong feelings as to enhancements to the plan, and those enhancements are, in particular, DPC 1. This policy would be enhanced by inclusion of a map to show where the grade 1, 2 and 3A agricultural land is sited in the district to know which areas this covers. DPC 2, we would prefer a list of known areas to be included to show where coalescence is to be resisted. DPT 1, we would like to see this policy strengthened to say that highway improvements will be delivered before the housing is occupied. We'd also like to see the A22, A26, A264 junction specifically acknowledged as needing improvements due to current overcapacity. And DPS C3, this site allows for 2,300 homes. It should be required that the development is not phased to attempt to reduce infrastructure contribution delivery on the site. The concerns as to the provision of secondary education, are the occupants to travel to Crawley or East Grinstead for secondary education. If East Grinstead, a new secondary education provision may be needed. We trust that it is helpful to the consultation process and will continue to watch the progress of the revised plan. That's just really the noting.
I think the idea is that the committee will need to approve that, so we can then send it to the Sussex District Council.
That's
the draft
tonight.
response that Julie's put
Okay,
together
fair
from the
enough.
comments that she's received, is
Okay.
my understanding.
Does anybody else have any comments on that?
Can I ask, do we need to say that we are, if we are district councillor on this one?
If you,
Yes, I would have thought.
Are you on the planning committee at this point?
No,
No, but obviously the district plan comes up before
Yeah.
the full council. I just wanted to make sure.
I can put that on her.
Absolutely, we'll add that on.
And
Yeah.
council, just that we are, as we are, it's an interest of a such, I just think it's worth noting.
It's quite a big document, actually, that regulation 19. Does anybody else have any comments with regards to that? Councillors?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is obviously the final comment by this town council on this particular document. It's been a 2-year procedure. The East Grinstead has had the opportunity to make formal consultations before this. Retains the consistency of the message from this parish council, particularly as we refer to traffic mitigation, particularly in the north of the town, with the junction that you've just mentioned. So that's been a consistent theme, and we very much hope that those notifications over the previous 2 years will be taken into account by the inspector.
I don't know if it's worth putting in about the feasibility study with Surrey County Council and that sort of three level consultation or not.
That brief is ongoing, Chair, as you know. So I don't think it's directly part of the the Regulation 19 package, but the message from this evening is that this town council remains very consistent in its themes of a 2-year consultation period.
Yeah, right, okay. We're now going to Councillor Gibson. Would like to add some extra information or some thoughts on that Regulation 19.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I start by saying that I think you got the number wrong for Crabbit Park. It's now, I believe it's DPS, or whatever it is, 2.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, it's gone from 3 to 2 as a result of obviously the strange and mysterious removal of the Cookstown development into early 2022. The point that I wanted to make is that the district plan is really the only opportunity in order to consider cumulative development on an area. When applications come in, they are assessed in terms of their impact solely as a result of that development. And whatever the rules say about the need to take account of other things, as it says on Crawley Down Road, and as it says on Limberhorn Farm, in practice that's very difficult to implement because the developer cannot be responsible for the delivery of anything which is outside the immediate boundary of the development. So it's important that we do make sure that this covers cumulative development and on the area, and I think it's very good that this council has looked as far as alongside the M23 and taken consideration, because what we're talking about is really the green gap between East Grinstead and the M23. Now, by my count, and taking account of ongoing development and also the sort of the DPD allocations, 5,000 houses are due to go in that gap within this plan period. And because of the way that works, I believe that will be by 2030 of that order. So what I would like the council to consider is asking the inspector to take more wider account of the area, and indeed for the development at Sayers Common, which is a central development, a large development, and I think 3 or 4 secondary developments, Councillor Whittaker will recall this, are being taken together, and there's been a policy change so that those smaller developments can be looked at in the context of the larger development. Right, so the planning, the strategic planning for everything is done as a whole. Now, I would like to suggest that the Crawley Down proposals, which are DPA 9 and DPA 10, which together total 400 houses, are taken into this, that the inspector is asked to look at the overall. You're correct that he has to look at the traffic, and I'm despondent about the lack of progress on the A264, A22 corridor study. The officer in charge in Surrey County Council has left and has not yet been replaced, so it missed its deadline for even just the review it was supposed to publish at the end of last year. I think there's no hope that we're going to see anything like new proposals coming out within the deadline for this plan going forward. You're right about school places. I've been briefed that there's going to be a further form added to Imberhorn at the upper school, but it will be an all-through form. I think that takes it to an 11 form entry, either 10 or 11. But there's no plan for any new schools, either primary or other than there was a discussion about a SEND school being put in on Heathy Wood, on the space allocated there. So it's important that these things are considered, and my belief is that the plan is the only point where this can actually be brought together, because once you start developing these things, the developer will focus simply on what they're trying to deliver. So that's going to be the 350 houses on Huntsland, which I'm quite open about, is close to where I live. Another 40 on top of the Hurst farm down there. And for those not to be taken as a strategic approach, it is simply madness. And then that strategic approach should go further. So thank you to the committee for listening to me.
That's all right.
But I think those are key points. I will be making a personal submission, which actually will go wider, but I felt that that was something that, as this council recognised the impact of that development at Crabbit Park, and perhaps I should finish by saying that I mean that development at Crabbit Park is probably going to be offered to Crawley's unmet need. So once again, we are building houses in mid Sussex to meet an out of area demand.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Gibson. That's great.
Do you want to approve that draft response?
Yes. Yes, with a caveat that
If you want to, yeah, obviously if you want to.
just slightly amended, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose that draft to the regulation 19 review consultation. Have a second?
I'll second that, with some caveats around
We'll add
the cumulative impact.
Can I ask for a raise of hands for approval of that? Thank you very much. Great stuff. Okay. Next up, item number 6 is our protected tree applications. We're going to have one this week. Normally we would just put this all through to the tree officer on block or on one. There's nothing really too contentious with that one. I'd like to propose that particular strategy. That's second. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Item number 7. Planning applications. We have one tonight, which is the coming back of the DM 230810, which is land south of Crawley Down Road, Belbridge. the Barrett David Wilson development of 200 homes. I'll just read it. Demolition of existing structures and erection of 200 1, 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes with 30% affordable. New vehicle accesses via Crawley Down Road together with associated car parking, open space and landscaping. There are amended plans which we reviewed in July, August rather, regarding transport, air quality, trees and drainage. There are further amended plans in September which we reviewed in October, which regards to drainage and the ecology elements. And then there was more new information received on the 7th of November regarding the proposed site highway works on Crawley Down Road, and revised plans received 13th and 14th of November showing changes to blocks 180 and 182. Plus, there was an updated transport assessment report and travel plan which was received on the 19th of January. I've just put that up just really to give people an idea, just to remind people of what the development is and what it looks like. As you can see, we've got, again, as a reminder, this is the development here in red, and then I've highlighted in blue the area there which is already filled with houses as well, which is not on that map. So just to give people an idea of the scale of the development again. Here we go. We've also got a lot of public objections on the portal, but bear that in mind again. People are very angry about this. As a council, we have asked colleagues at District to incorporate what is called a Grampian precedent, and that Grampian precedent is being supported by Felbridge Parish Council as well, which is basically we want to see the infrastructure in place before any houses are built. And the reason for that is because particularly the road infrastructure in the A264 A282 junction is already at over capacity at certain times of day, as per the data from the developer. A couple of things really. Responses from the residents and their objections. I'd like the committee to have seen the comments and recommendations made by Surrey County Council and also Felbridge Parish Council, and also the residents group Infrastructure First. And also we've commented on this particular application 3 times already. Mainly, well, I mean, I could go through what you talked about, it's fairly extensive. I won't do that.
Access has always been the main one, isn't it?
But please bear with me, Councillor Scott. I'll come back to you in a second. Sorry.
That's fine.
So we've got that. There's also as I mentioned before, there is a feasibility study which is being run by Surrey County Council, West Sussex, and also Mid Sussex, which is at the early stages of development. And you know that can only reiterate, I think, what we already know in terms of the capacity at junction. The transport assessment and the travel plan are listed on the website, on the portal. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to have a look at that. I personally don't accept the transport assessment. I find that there's too many discrepancies in the data. The dates that were used to collate the data involved certain days where there were road closures. So there's, it's flawed. The numbers really don't make sense. And they're saying that the junction capacity will decrease when SA20 is built, and I can't see that, if I'm honest. So I don't really know where we're going with that. The road safety audit is out of date, and also, and I think this is where our colleagues at Felbridge Parish Council did mention this as well. There's a lot of use of the word potential, and I just find that irritating. And the developer needs to be able to say it's actually going to be this, and it's not going to be that. highway mitigation that's required from the inspector's amendment to the policy of SA19 is completely missing, except for an unrealistic 10% modal shift of public transport and active travel. I can't see where that's coming from. Generally speaking, as I know, actually, no, we'll talk about that. Just generally, the standard of document for bus service that services that particular area is poor at best. I can't see that changing in the information on the transport assessment. Doesn't say that either, particularly evenings and weekends. And once again, I think without getting on a soapbox about it, but the lived experience of people that live there and us as residents is once again odds and it's totally different to what the developer is saying. I'm also very disappointed that West Sussex County Council haven't really robustly responded from a transport and highways perspective on this, knowing what they know and the data that they have in front of them with regards to the model. In respect to the travel plan, we've got experience of these travel plans with the Hill Place Farm development. Having looked at both, they are exactly the same. So I don't agree that I think it's just a box ticking exercise from the developers. I think it's just to get it over the line. It's completely the same plan, except for different modal shift numbers. And residents on this development still don't know who the travel plan coordinator is now. That's a big selling point for this in this plan. This travel plan is they're going to allocate a travel plan coordinator who is going to miraculously get everybody cycling and walking in a semi-rural area where everyone's going to need to be dependent on cars anyway. And I don't really understand that. Excuse my sarcasm. Dead too far. Sorry. So things like other things, the travel assessment is and the travel plan really are just wish lists. I can't see. I don't believe the numbers regarding modal shift particularly. I don't agree that the traffic calming examples are workable. I think that Surrey County Council came up to quite a long list of alternatives and things that the developer should be putting in place in terms of crossing points for residents all along Fully Down Road and the A264 and going up the A22 opposite the Crown Plaza. So they've come back with a very interesting proposal. And as I said, the semi-urban setting dictates that residents in the development will be car dependent unless there is significantly improved infrastructure to enable people to be able to not do it, and not take their car. Typically within the design of the road system, within the development, it means that within 5 years, there'll be cars parked on the roads, and it will become a big car park like all of our areas that we live in at the moment, which upsets me. There's no future planning in terms of design for that, and I'd like to see more critique of that and an improvement, and really for the making the streets are for people, not for cars kind of concept. There's no mention of the East Grinstead within the travel assessment and how this development will feed into that. There's nothing about upgrading the right of way, particularly with the link to Worth Way, and there's really no forethought on how this development will then feed into SA20 as well. And that's all part of DG9, reducing reliance on the car. They have made a concession in terms of the £150 per household travel fund, which is a one-year offer for residents to go towards using alternative transport methods. Can't see really how that's going to work. And there's really no meat on the bones within these assessments and the plans to actually, really analyse it from a decent perspective. Still major concerns with flooding in the area, and actually having been down there recently on my bike, it was really nasty, really horrible. And again, the lived experience isn't being taken into account. There's still nothing in relation to the SANG, which we mentioned in August as well, or the SAM, because we're within the influence of Ashland Forest. And there's also something quite interesting about which I know isn't going to be, it's not part of this development, but biodiversity net gain, which is something that's new coming into from a district perspective as well. So again, if the developer was considerate to the town in terms of this particular development, I would expect them to be, ticking that box too, but they haven't. Generally, development doesn't really reflect the area and the design of those buildings, particularly the higher rise buildings as well. So again, I've gone on a bit much about that, so I apologise. Density and the location of that all don't fit with the design of the development. I feel doesn't fit in with that. So that's my summary. Councillor Whitaker, would you like to add any further meat to those bones?
Thank you, yeah, I was going to raise pretty much all those.
Sorry, I am sorry, mate.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chairman, for a very comprehensive summary. I think it's very pertinent tonight that we started the agenda with discussion about our submission on the Reg 19 for the district plan review, and Councillor Gibson very eloquently summarised the strategic nature of particularly the traffic problem in that corridor, 22 M23 corridor, because that's what it is. That graphic, you take it another 5 miles to the west, and that takes you to the M23, and that's quite a long corridor. But it's a corridor that pretty much everybody in this town uses. I won't say every day, but certainly 3 times a week, probably, on journeys, and 6 times obviously on return journeys. So everybody's extremely familiar with the issues. The only people that don't seem to be relevant, pertinent to those issues are West Sussex County Council highways, because the portal now runs to 92 pages for this application. It is an allocated site by the District Council in the adopted development plan document from April 2022. This is the 3rd time, as you say, it's come through this town council. Came through in April 23, October 23, and now February 24. So that's 3 times in 9 months. Essentially, nothing's changed. The details have changed a bit. Revised reports, amended reports, tweaked reports, but the messages still and the issues remain, and in my opinion, have not been adequately addressed. I would like to pay tribute to you touched on infrastructure first, which is a big Felbridge and East Grinstead residents group, very well organised. Mr. and Mrs. Tucker that run that do an excellent job, and this town council has historically had very close liaison contact with them for well over a decade now, and they work with us very closely on our adopting our neighbourhood plan and all other planning matters. So their report, 12-page report on the 19th of January 24, but particularly pertinent is the 6-page report, which is a summary document, which was addressed to Councillor Mrs. Joy Dennis, who's the Cabinet Member for Highways for West Sussex County Council. So she's the person responsible for all roads, not just in their current state from resurfacing to strategic planning, frankly. So that's a very detailed, factual, evidence-based critique of over 12 years of non-delivery of highways upgrades. So from Section 106 and Section 278 agreements that have been completed on developments over the last 12 years. Lots of financial contributions that have been made that were supposed to go towards junction upgrades and infrastructure upgrades for traffic mitigation, none of which of those have happened. So they're still sitting in the pot, still unused. And this 6-page report, I urge all councillors, if they haven't seen it, to refer to it. It's a brilliant piece of factual evidence that's been sent to Mrs. Dennis. So that's very, very pertinent. And that's very disturbing. So that kind of sets the scene. The junction we know is over capacity, even the existing reports from previous applications and this application says that at AM peak time it's 107% over capacity. You're right in saying that individual developments such as this application are only supposed to mitigate their own transport additions. But there's a wider issue here, obviously in infrastructure planning and for the whole reason. So the travel plan that you mentioned and the latest transport assessment, I agree, I think are flawed because they don't take into account. Furbridge Parish Council again have been superb in their assessment and reports on the portal. The road closure from May last year, there was clearly an issue that motion transport didn't take into account. But also, I don't believe they've taken into account the latest traffic data from the other side we have, which is SA20, which is the potential Inverhorn Farm development, which that application is in already for 680 units. That's got a huge amount of traffic data. And I don't believe this application has dovetailed in. They've just taken their application in isolation, you know, which is clearly a weakness, and I think it's flawed because of that. So Furbridge Parish Council will pick that up. I think it's reflected in Surrey County Council's highways response. A little bit inconclusive. I was a bit disappointed with the Surrey County Council response, the latest response on the portal from the 18th of December. I was expecting slightly stronger. But as you say, it lists a whole catalogue of requirements that they aim to see, but none of which have been incorporated yet into this scheme. So lots of doubts there. The corridor feasibility study, that's ongoing, and as Councillor Gibbs has said, he is kind of part of that, being a triple hatter with respect to the Town Council, Mid Sussex and also West Sussex. But these sorts of studies for councillors, if you're closely involved like he and I am, it just drive you mad, because you take one step forward and two steps back, and it's just prevarication, and it's kicking the can down the road, in my opinion. So we're not going to see any results of that until latest, sort of late this year. But you know, my main concern is that the site allocation here, which is SA19 in the development plan document, policy SA39 within that document basically states that transport mitigation needs to be provided to the satisfaction of both Surrey County Council and West Sussex County Council highways departments in order for these SA19 and SA20 to proceed to a positive planning application. And they haven't yet, because Surrey clearly are not satisfied. Additionally, you touched on this Town Council has a planning policy position statement, which is adopted in 3rd of October 2022, so well over a year ago. Very strong statement. That was predicated on the back of the Surrey County Council Highways detailed response requesting a granting condition, such that if Mid Sussex as the planning authority were minded to grant permission, then a granting condition precedent such that they guarantee that the junction of the A20, the Star Junction, and that corridor section provide full mitigation for the existing traffic issues, i.e. the 107% over capacity at AM. So nothing's in summary, nothing's changed to my mind. So I'm firmly with you that this committee remains against this application at the moment until these strategic issues are determined to the satisfaction of this Town Council.
Thank you very much. Councillor Scott, you are.
No, not either. Everything has been said from Councillor Whittaker perfectly.
Thank you. For so long, at the Town Council, we've had these proposals in Crawley Down Road, in Horn, just come before us, each time we've said, okay, we accept each individual proposal or not, but always with the premise, it's subject to infrastructure. Where's the infrastructure? Each time the developer seems to promise doctors, schools, highway, nothing actually on the infrastructure actually materialises. So I just don't think that we can keep agreeing in principle because nothing is ever delivered for the infrastructure. People have got to live there. They've got to suffer the traffic, as you say. I mean, I go down there, as Councillor Whittaker said, quite regularly, traffic jam after traffic jam, as we are without these further developments. And I just don't think it's fair to the residents. It's not fair to the people of East Grinstead who travel along these and the thought of all these extra buildings without the infrastructure, the school places, the doctors, as well as the highways. I just think it's time that we said no more until we get the infrastructure at least promised and from the council of from West Sussex, so that we can actually feel that the judgments and the decisions we pass on actually will materialise rather than it's be in principle.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
I look at these two applications, the Imberhorn and now Crawley Down. And as Councillor Whittaker said, it's been so long and they've had so much time to develop these junctions and the traffic problem that is gonna come with these two developments. I don't think they know how to do it. I do not think they've got an idea how they can do it. And I can't disagree with them because I can't see how on earth they can do it. I feel so sorry for the people of Crawley Down because they're going to go flying through that village day in and day out, all down to the memorial, down to the bottom and turn right to Duke's Head. It's going to be mayhem. Coming out and going right, it's going to be absolutely catastrophic. And with the Imberhorn as well, coming down to the lights and wanting to get into that corridor, I use it every day, 5 days a week, and I'm just terrified what it's going to be like. I just don't think that they can actually see a resolution. I think that's probably one of the reasons why they are dragging their heels and as Rex are kicking the can up the road. I just don't think they can see an answer. And I've got to be honest with them. I have to sympathise with them. I don't think we can either. If these units are built, I can't see where the answer is. You haven't got the facility there to compensate for this amount of traffic that's going to be put upon it morning, noon and night. And with the school across the road as well, been a major concern. I just think the infrastructure is the one thing that's beyond their capability. That's my honest opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Connell.
I'll try and keep this short. So I think there's two main points I'd like to bring. One is the infrastructure, and we've covered a lot of it. I think this cumulative impact point that's been mentioned, I think their own numbers themselves say somehow miraculously without the Atkins infrastructure. So I spent a lot of time reading this. The numbers are somehow going to go down with the extra development. Now, without the introduction of the Atkins proposals, it's beyond belief that the people that's modelled this can stand behind those numbers. I think it's a disgrace, and I do think West Sussex Highways need to really look at this, because if I can, with very little background, pick that up, others should be able to. So I think that's point one. Point two would be, again, back to modelling. They love the numbers. You know, I've written down the numbers here. They have, to their dues, incorporated, let's say, 20 numbers into this. But again, they have assumed with 550 houses that there's only 270 cars, so 550 houses, minimum three cars a household, you know, easily. They expect only 275 journeys in the morning, 265 in the evening, which I think is complete fallacy. And I don't know how they can stand behind that. For this development of 200 houses, so let's say 600 cars, again, 100 in the morning, a little bit closer, but still miles away, 100 in the morning, 100 in the evening. This is even more rural. This is, again, their own stats show that to get anywhere needs a car. So I think that it talks for itself. I think it's a complete joke, and they really need to look at that. Putting the infrastructure to one side, the broader infrastructure, again, we've already touched on the voucher, again, a token gesture, and this is what I would say about this developer. Compared to some of the others that have come before this committee, there is a real intent from some developers to really try to put in infrastructure, do meaningful change, whether it's a country park, whether it's a primary school. This developer has done nothing. They are using the existing recreation ground, using existing playing fields around it as kind of their personal green space for this development. As mentioned, no sand, no SAM, absolutely nothing in the way. The £150 vouchers, I would say, an incentive for the first-time buyers, just to say it's £150 voucher. I don't think there's any intent for that to be used ongoing. The bus stop, again, there's no commitment in this document to the actual improvement. They're having lovely conversations, and there's a real willingness for the companies involved to put on extra services. No commitments in this plan. So again, to the point mentioned, there's lots of words of potential. There's nothing actually in this that actually makes a meaningful difference to anybody in this. And you know, again, one of the things was we're going to somehow reduce single occupancy car journeys by 10%, with some leaflets through a door, and having apparently a travel coordinator, of which on the Hillside Place we don't even know who it is. Again, and the only commitment is that in some future time the management company will cover remediation measures if required. But again, that's if the management company still exists at that point in the future. So again, a lot of talk, absolutely zero in the way of delivery. And just to sort of talk about the lived experience, one of my neighbours came from Tooting Becks in London, and I was so distraught with the traffic where they want to drive. They work near Gatwick. They're actually thinking about moving out the area because it's worse than Tooting Beckham in London. So that gives you a real true life experience from a neighbour who moved out of London to have a better experience, and is actually now debating if these go ahead moving out of the area. And I think that's just says it all really around this. And I could go on and on, but I think we've all got some place to be tonight.
So. Yes.
I mean, I don't think I can top that. If we're talking about lived experiences, I mean, I immediately think of the roundabout at Linfield Road. That's proximity to my ward, which could be argued as maybe one of the less worst pinch points that we often discuss. And even that can get absolutely choppy with what we have now. So if I could touch on Councillor Bels's point, we seem to be having the same conversations over and over again about when it comes to particularly this area, about the same pinch points. It's not doable, we need more. And at some point there's got to be a way that, I mean, I know we can't filter applications out before they get here, but I feel like it's not much of a good use of everyone's time to have the same conversations. Councillor Whittaker must get sick of saying, I mean, we love listening to it, don't get me wrong. We must get sick of saying the same things over and over again about his ward and the issues, and Councillor Gibson as well. So, yeah, it seems to be a bit of a pattern here, and I'd like to think that we'll go into that before. But it could be, Councillor Scott's quite right, it could be that no one has the answer. But without any answers, I don't think we're really going to get very far with these sorts of applications.
No, absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. So we have a recommendation for refusal. Second. Chair, all those in favour of that? And I will liaise with Deputy Clerk and we'll get that robust response back to Mid Sussex forthwith. That is the end of the planning committee meeting. I will call time at 7:46. Stop recording.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes. Well done.
Well done, Mr. Deputy Chair.
The one that speaks so highly. I said, oh, that's not.